It's the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That is Wade Neely, fresh off of a trip up north. I'm Maurice Patton. We are Main Street Sports Today. We will be with you for the next 2 hours discussing sports topics of local, regional, and national importance. So stick around. I think a good time will be had by all. Don't you agree, Mr. Neely?
Oh yeah, back in the saddle. Monday Mirror Edition. Looking forward to a good show. We got well, I'll let you set it up here in a moment. We got a lot of stuff to get into as a busy weekend to recap, and then rolling right into another big week here as we kick off the month of June.
Absolutely. A lot to get to, and helping us get to it here in the next couple of segments will be TERESA Walker of the Associated Press. We're just going to kind of pick her brain on everything we can pick her brain on, and there's a lot there to pick. So looking forward to that. In the second hour, we're going to visit with Caleb JARREAU of the University of Tennessee Daily Beacon, talk a little college baseball, national #1 seed style, and we will obviously touch on some other occurrences from the weekend, the first weekend of the NCAA college baseball tournament. That didn't go so well for at least one local team. So we will get into that. Also, the grab bag should be fun. A lot to get to in that. We're not going to talk too much about it at this moment, but it should be a lively conversation when we get there. So looking forward to that. We'll touch on some Braves. They did salvage the final game of their 7-game homestand and salvaged the series against the Athletics in doing so. But it's things are tough. It's hard out here for the Braves right now. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and some other happenings in and around Major League Baseball. So should be a fun show. Again, looking forward to it. Wade, I want to hear about your weekend because you threw up a video on X or on Twitter or whatever it is you want to refer to it as yesterday from the University of Kentucky's indoor football facility. A pretty impressive looking facility there. Tell me about Lexington and UK football.
Man, I joked with everybody on social over the weekend. I said I was really just out scouting to see what the facilities look like for my dynasty on PlayStation 5 next month.
Let me just say that. Let me stop you right there, because if you have Kentucky football as your dynasty, I don't think anybody will be fighting you for it. Let me just put it that way.
Could be. We played in some in years past where you have to do randoms and you or there's a draft type situation. So you don't want to leave any stone unturned. I just wanted to make sure I did my due diligence. But yeah, me and the missus were in town for a music festival and had some time to kill yesterday, and so we caught a little of the baseball regional that you and I talked about on Friday. Mm-hmm. And on the way to the said regional, the facility was open, so just popped on in, kind of hung out. There was a couple folks in there working out. I thought we might see a Will Levis sighting this weekend with the regional going on and being a music festival kind of connoisseur as he is. I thought we might see him, but didn't see him in the facility. But yeah, great setup, man. Lexington is a very cool town. I had never been, and kind of enjoyed it. And Kentucky doing big things. Going to keep on keeping on, as it were.
Well, the football facility being open like that's kind of strikes me as a easier to get forgiveness than permission kind of thing, I would think. But that's great that you were able to get in there for a little bit and kind of check that out. I would not have expected that at a Southeastern Conference indoor facility, but
I think the thought was it's summertime and everybody that was on campus was probably going to baseball, and they had the door open. And I said, hey, let's just check things out. So
check it out.
I might be on some sort of banned list from campus here forward, but it might have been worth it too. We got to sit behind home plate for the wasn't a great game by any stretch, but Illinois played Indiana State yesterday, Indiana State wins it 13-2. Caught a few innings
Oof.
behind home plate, so we kind of just made ourselves at home in Lexington. There wasn't a lot going on.
Literally, yeah.
Wasn't a lot going on when Kentucky was not actually playing.
Mm-hmm.
The Big Blue Nation, they got the 5-0 win in the nightcap, so they are cruising. But it was a good time and kind of crummy weather. Weather was hit and miss all weekend, but overall vibes were pretty good, I think.
Same here, actually, if it makes you feel any better. Rain pretty much all day on Saturday. Yesterday was significantly better, but hey, your music fest, a little Chris Stapleton, a little Dwight Yoakam, that's it's not a bad get.
Yeah, the Railbird Music Festival, I think they started this in 21 maybe, and it heard a little bit about it. I usually we'll hit a Bonnaroo. CMA Fest is this week. We'll be at that, but hadn't been to Lexington, and it kind of was just one that, kind of just caught our eye a little bit, and so we wanted to check it out. Yeah, Dwight Yoakam, crazy story. He actually had to cut his set short. He did come back out, though, which was great for a variety of reasons, which I'll explain, but he had to cut his set short. He was suffering from heat exhaustion. And he left, and I was like, as you and I talked about before we went on air, I mean, this guy is 67 years old. I mean, when it's hot out there, you got to take some extra precautions. But he came back out, closed the show with a few good tunes, and he was a guy, I wasn't really maybe going to ever really seek out to go see on my own. So, but when I saw he was on the bill, I said, hey, man, let's see what my guy's all about. He's billed from, this was kind of funny, Mo. He's billed from Los Angeles, but he quickly pointed out to everybody that he's originally from Pikeville, Kentucky. So he wanted to make the crowd, aware that, he may be, kind of a Hollywood type musician at this point and actor, I suppose. But he reminded everybody of his Kentucky roots during his
Has
set
not
yesterday.
forgotten his roots, huh? There we go. Good for him. That's good. Well, hey, that sounds like fun. That sounds like. And here's the thing, man. Lexington isn't very hard to get to.
We're just getting ready to say that. Very easy trip. You lose an hour, obviously, going over there, but that's not the end of the world. 3.5 hours. The way Mo drives potentially, or our buddy Scott Stewart, maybe even 2.5 hours. But
I will tell you. I've been to Lexington a few times. It has never taken me 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Well, we stopped a few times too, but yeah, so it was, all in all, it was good. And the only bad part was this probably will show as or be unveiled as the show goes along. Cell service was horrible at the actual venue. So I have limited knowledge of what really went on in the sports world, but I have a gist, I suppose, as we get into the show today.
You've got some pockets of misses then, huh? I got you.
Yeah, if you're asking for a clear and concise third period breakdown of the Oilers game last night, I don't know that I can get that to you, but I can maybe tell you at least that the Oilers did win, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of who won and who lost this weekend, we should probably give everybody this weekend's results and today's so lengthy schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college and equipped for purpose.
Major League Baseball action from Friday. The Braves picked up a 4-2 victory over the visiting Athletics. The Astros fell to Minnesota 6-1. On Saturday, it was the Astros 5, the Twins 2, and Oakland with an 11-5 slugfest victory over Chris Sale and the Braves. The calendar turned to June pretty decisively on Mr. Sale. We'll talk more about that later in the show. Yesterday, the Twins with a 4-3 victory at Houston, Atlanta with a 3-1 win over the Athletics. And in Sounds action this weekend down in Memphis, Nashville defeated the Redbirds 7-2 on Friday, fell 11-3 on Saturday, and claimed a split of the 6-game series with a 9-2 victory yesterday.
WNBA scores from the weekend. We go back to Friday where it was the Liberty 90, the Mystics 79. Connecticut defeats is that Los Angeles 74-72.
Yeah, gotta be.
Atlanta defeating the Vegas Aces 78-74 is a good win at home for Atlanta on Friday night. Minnesota takes care of Phoenix 95-71. Saturday, I did get to see the fourth quarter of this game, and what a wild one it was. It was Indiana squeaking out a 71-70 victory versus the Chicago Sky. Again, that was the lone game on Saturday. And then yesterday, we had Connecticut defeating Atlanta 69-50. It was Phoenix 87 and Los Angeles 68. Liberty whooped the Fever 104-68. And then it was the Lynx knocking off the Wings 87-76. MLS score from Saturday. Woof. Bad result for Nashville SC. Maybe one of the wildest turnarounds after a big win last week in Cincinnati. They fall at home to the Revolution 2-1. Arena football, not much better, unfortunately, for the folks in the 615 as the Albany Firebirds defeat the Cats 32-25.
Today's schedule. Major League Baseball, St. Louis opens a series at Minute Maid Park against the Astros. That's a 7:10 start tonight. And that is your rundown. Slow day today in sports, clearly. Your top story today brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items, as well as their hand-cut meats. And everything is cost plus 3%. Cost plus 10% at the cash register. 10. Don't go over there looking for 3% and having them come back on us. No, it's cost plus 10 at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia, bringing you our top story. And going into the high school ranks, defensive lineman Stefan Shivers from Humboldt over in West Tennessee is a Georgia commit, 6'3", 255-pound rising senior who will now play his senior year of football at Brentwood Academy, apparently. According to the Milan Mirror Exchange and Michael Odom over there, Shivers' Facebook page reflects the move. Post went up last night that he is committed to the Eagles. The Eagles, who were 2-10 last year, and are now on their third head coach in 3 years, and Paul Wade, former Donaldson Christian coach. But interesting. Actually, the first look I got at this kid was when he was up here at the state basketball tournament with Humboldt as a freshman, and he is an impressive looking young man. He was the All Gibson County boys basketball player of the year this past season, averaging 16 points, 11 boards, and 2.5 assists. So at 6'3.5", 255 on the basketball court in 1A, that's yes, exactly. 3-star athlete, the number 12 recruit in the 2025 class in Tennessee, and the number 44 defensive lineman in the country, apparently. And again, he is a Georgia commit. Now, Humboldt went 0-10 last year. They've had a coaching change as well. Again, Brentwood Academy 2-10, but they have senior quarterback George McIntyre, who is a UT commit. And, I don't know if this means that he'll be considering a flip, if folks in Georgia should be concerned about that, or what the situation is. I'm intrigued, though, Wade, because this clearly isn't a move, if you are already committed to the University of Georgia, that you are making for exposure purposes.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it to me. I'm kind of scratching my head because, yeah, if Georgia's already on you, you're already committed to Georgia. Not knocking Humboldt, but no offense, but what do you care if your team goes 0-10? If you're set to go on to Georgia. The hard part is getting found at a school like Humboldt, right?
You would think.
And if you get found at a school like Humboldt, then, I mean, maybe why not? Unless maybe now you're starting to see what the NIL game starts to look like. Maybe Georgia's offer not quite as sweet this time next year as
or maybe there's some high school NIL out there for you at Brentwood Academy that wouldn't necessarily be there at Humboldt. Now, I would think that, and this is something that we've kind of knocked around before, those small town teams, those small town programs, there's a lot of small town pride there. And you would think that there would be some folks out there that might come up with a couple of dollars here or there for a Georgia commit. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very intriguing situation to me. And the last 3 to 5 years, we've seen more and more highly touted high school football athletes in particular move from school A to school B over the course of their high school career. And it's I don't know what to make of it. And I don't really want to get into judging folks, because when it comes right down to it, what takes place in those people's house, that's on them. And if they're doing the best thing, or if they feel like they're doing the best thing for that young man, who am I to judge? But from where I am, it's an interesting move.
Yep. Kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. And two things on that. Number one, maybe this will quiet the naysayers that say that Brentwood Academy is not recruiting hard enough and looking for the best talent, So if they're willing to go all the way out to Humboldt, not necessarily just a hop, skip, and a jump from BA. So maybe this will quiet some of the recruiting naysayers. The other interesting thing is I'd like to know, but you say the last name Shivers and Humboldt, and well, I get shivers that go down my spine because back when I was in high school, they had a young man by the name of Joe Shivers, who I don't know if any relation, but in a small town, wouldn't be surprised. But
right.
He gave Giles County the business my senior year and knocked us, kept Tyler Smith and all of our guys from going to state tournament our senior year. So it was. I see the name, and just the last name alone and Humboldt kind of gives me a little heebie-jeebies. So
it gives you the shivers, huh?
It does indeed.
Now, when was that, Wade?
So that would have been 2005. And so Joe, I just remember the name because, especially that was the name kind of you don't forget. Joe Shivers just seems like a cool basketball name. And Humboldt came into Giles County, and
they got y'all at the Mayfield, huh?
Yeah, Giles, they won it all at my sophomore year in 2003, and then we never got back to state. Lost 2 straight home sectionals, and Joe Shivers. So I don't know. Again, a small town, pretty decent chance could be related. I'll see if I could tap into a Humboldt source by the end of the show. But getting back to the main point, and what you say, Mo, is their reasons are their reasons, and I'm never going to knock a kid or a family for doing for what's best for them.
Right.
But it is a little bit of a head scratcher considering that he is already to Georgia. If I pulled up his recruiting and the only offers were Austin P, UT Martin, insert other kind of West Tennessee school here, I might be a little more inclined to see you follow the rationale, but this one is a little bit of a head scratcher to me.
I mean, how much better does it get in the collegiate pecking order than Georgia right now?
Right. And that's the thing too, is I should have even said, it's not as if his offers were, Ball State and,
and Memphis.
And Memphis and
no disrespect again.
No disrespect to any of these schools. Yeah, but even like middle of the road kind of FBS programs, you're going to Georgia. So
you're not trying to improve your situation from a recruiting standpoint if you've committed to Georgia.
Only other thing, maybe I can I don't know how much this factors in, but maybe Georgia calls and says, hey, we like what you got going on, but we'd really like for you to take your game up an even higher level. And conveniently, the way you can maybe do that is by going to a better school, a quote unquote better school.
Mhm.
Or maybe Georgia is looking at McIntyre's recruiting and says, well, he's a hard commit, but how hard is that commit?
Yeah.
I don't, there's a million different ways you could go
You've
with
got
this,
one job, Stefan.
yeah. You become best friends with George McIntyre and somehow, some way get him to potentially flip to Georgia. That is your sleeper cell at that point almost.
There you go. Very interesting, though.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you for sharing, because that's an unusual story, especially kind of early June here.
Yeah. Humboldt lineman Stefan Shivers headed to Brentwood Academy. And we will take our first break here from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes. And when we return on Main Street Sports Today, we will be joined by the Queen of Tennessee sports media, TERESA Walker of the Associated Press, talking some pro sports. So stay tuned after this break.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another real estate auction Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m. in the beautiful Hickory Woods subdivision. This spacious estate offers numerous amenities, perfect for the homeowner or investor. Conveniently located in Davidson County, Tennessee at 221 Wild Grove Court. This is the sale you don't want to miss. Join Bluegrass and bid with confidence. Saturday, June 8th at 10 a.m.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective abodes. And we are joined now to talk a little pro sports by TERESA Walker of the Associated Press. TERESA, good Monday. TERESA. Mark? Anybody?
I'll talk to her.
Well, yeah, do that. As we effort to get TERESA into the show, Wade, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do, came across some tragic news here. Cowboys Hall of Fame offensive lineman Larry Allen died Sunday on vacation with his family in Mexico. ESPN, among others, are reporting at the age of 52. 52, drafted out of Sonoma State in 94 and made 11 Pro Bowl appearances, inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2013. It's unsettling to say the least. Played right tackle, right guard, and left tackle, but mostly starred at left guard. 6-time first team All-Pro performer. And again, it just 52 just kind of screams out at you. It's no details of what happened, but Larry Allen, longtime Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman, died yesterday at the age of 52. And like I said, it's a little unsettling. Wait, I can't hear you.
Tragic news, of course, but yeah, what a phenomenal career this guy had. I mean, 11, as you mentioned, 11-time Pro Bowls, 6-time All-Pro. When you think of those great offensive linemen in the 90s into the middle of the 2000s, I mean, he was the guy, one of the guys at least, and tragic news. I had not seen this news until we started getting ready for our show today, and it was just kind of heartbreaking, like you said, very unsettling, and just a tragic situation. This guy, the crazy thing is, reading through kind of somewhat of an obit on ESPN, protected both Troy Aikman and Tony Romo. I mean, that's how long the guy's career spanned. I mean, he's Cowboys great, finished his career with the 49ers, but one of the all-time best offensive linemen, and gone way too soon, of course.
In 2019, an NFL top 100 list was compiled, and he was on it. He was chosen to the all-decade team for both the 1990s and the 2000s. He, Willie Rofe, and Warren Sapp were the only 3 players named to both. So that tells you just how highly he was thought of, by people that know, you would think. So, again, hate to hear that, and condolences to the Cowboy community and his family, obviously. So, Mark, any progress?
She's having some connection issues.
She's having some connection issues. Okay, well, hopefully we'll get her in. But in the meantime, one of the reasons that we wanted to reach out to TERESA was because mandatory minicamp starts tomorrow for the Titans, and just kind of wanted to kind of get her thoughts on what she was going to be looking to see out of that 3-day session where everybody is required to be in place, as opposed to the voluntary OTAs where, they're voluntary. So, but also, saw something yesterday apparently the NFL is looking into some tampering issues with a
Mm,
couple of teams, specifically the Atlanta Falcons
yep.
and the Philadelphia Eagles as they relate to their recruitment, for lack of a better phrase, and ultimate signing of Kirk Cousins and I just lost him, the running back, Saquon Barkley. And I'm curious, what ultimately comes out of this. I mean, it's what I wanted to ask Teresa about because again, she'll know infinitely more about this than I would. But is this a situation where contracts could be voided?
You know, that's a great question. That's kind of what went through my mind a little bit. And, for all of the laughing that we kind of did at the Falcons when they took Michael Penix, 8th overall, you
I thought
almost
about
now
that.
kind of start to wonder if they didn't know, hey, we might get totally dinged for this Cousins deal anyway. And if it plays out and we end up with both of them, cool. But if something happens and we lose Cousins, obviously, then I'm not going to say they look like geniuses, but they certainly look a little smarter than I think we thought they looked a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Hey, did you see the clip? I saw a clip either earlier this morning or sometime yesterday where folks in Falcons camp were having a tough time with Penix's velocity.
Hadn't seen that, but that dude throws the crap out of the ball. And
Yeah, it comes in there hot. So that was kind of interesting to see. I believe we have the Queen minus her crown, Teresa Walker, now joining us on Main Street Sports today. Teresa, thanks for your diligence.
Well, thanks for
Teresa,
your
we can hear you.
patience. And
There we go. We got you. We had you.
there we go. That I'm going to be changing my internet provider because, yeah, my Wi-Fi is going in and out. And it's like, are you kidding me here? I mean,
And right now it's out.
seriously, there's no one up as a scratching post. But other than that, I shouldn't have any connection issues. Now, I'm not going to. In Williamson County, that they have such issues having more than a bar or two in my neighborhood. It's just the richest county in the state and one of the richest counties in the entire country, but we can't get Wi-Fi or cell connection.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah.
And post that I have set up for him elsewhere.
Yeah.
Can you tell that it's almost feeding time?
Is that what's jarring your screen back and forth? Hello.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Oh Lord, I tell you that I can get. And as it keeps bleeping out on me, I'm going to make sure. I know. I apologize. I am going in and out, and I'm sorry about that. I've tried. I swear I'm trying 14 ways from Sunday to get connected.
Let's try backing you out and bringing you back in one more time, and hopefully the third time will be the charm. Let's do
I like that.
Yeah.
Dedicated,
Meanwhile,
if nothing else, which we
well,
are not surprised by any stretch.
No, I mean she's a pro, so I know she's going to do everything she can to come on with us. And again, we've got her booked for 2 segments, so lucky us. But again, Wade, I don't know how far the penalties for tampering go if it is found to be the case. This article on ESPN says the Dolphins forfeited their 2023 first round pick and a 2024 third rounder for tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton on 3 occasions between 2019 and 2022. Fines were also handed down to team owner Stephen Ross and vice chairman Bruce Beal for a total of almost $2.5 million. Kansas City gave up a couple of picks for tampering with Jeremy Maclin back in 2015 and were fined $250,000. So it doesn't sound as if there are necessarily contracts voided, but it would almost sound to me like that would be the requisite punishment if tampering is found to have taken place. And okay, just throw him back out on the free agent market. Don't. Otherwise, they got the player that they wanted. So I don't know. It's interesting. We've got Teresa back again, I believe. T, how significant do you feel like these tampering charges are against the Falcons and the Eagles, and how far, if it is found to be accurate, how far would you anticipate the punishment going on those?
Well, I think stay connected this time. It depends. Sometimes it's a simple draft pick. It depends on how mad the NFL is at the ownership at this point, right? Right. I mean, once upon a time, they find the Titans, 6 because they had the percentage of the team that she had, and then she and some of her relatives bought out 1/3 of the family and managed to bump that up as on any given day.
Teresa, are you with us?
I can hear you.
Okay. I can hear you now, but not now. Oh,
my friend, can you tell it's a Monday?
All day.
Most definitely a Monday.
Yeah.
And I've got one bar on it. So it's like, yeah, 2 of this not helping.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and power through a couple of minutes. Teresa, what do you expect to see out at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park here over the next 3 days when mandatory minicamp starts up tomorrow and finishes up Thursday?
It's going to be interesting. It's mandatory on this offseason with the additions that they've added. Let's face it, Devondre Sweat, I think he's very happy. And when he sees that young man in person, I think he's going to be even more impressed. We haven't seen Sweat so if Sweat is around the building and Jeffrey Simmons can see him at all, I think Jeffrey is going to be the happiest person aside from Denard Wilson and Tracy Rocker and that young man to coach and be on the in the trenches. The changes in this team from last year, astounding. They're bigger, they're faster, it's going to be very interesting to see, just how different this team is. But the odds that came out Friends is the favorites in just one this year. If I were a betting person, I'd be taking the Titans as the underdog in 16 of those games just because is how different this coaching staff is. And while we're not going to see a ton at this mandatory mini camp, it's OTA type. Brian Callahan said that last week. big fact they've got only one OTA left that's open to us, and then we'll see what happens after this. But I mean, the changes are very different.
Teresa, let's switch gears just a touch within the Titans. But I am curious. One story that's kind of maybe gotten lost in the shuffle throughout the offseason is the recovery of Titans punter Ryan Stonehouse. Have you heard an update on Stonehouse? Obviously, he was, maybe the MVP of the team at times last year, and you're wondering kind of maybe how he returns. I think everybody is hoping and wishing he has a safe and speedy recovery, but have you got any injury news that you can share from Ryan Stonehouse's camp?
Well, he has said that, he's getting ready, that he thinks he'll be ready for the start of the season. Now they do have somebody around to, as insurance, and wasn't back for the start. He was back, and then suddenly on Wednesday, week of the season opener, he wasn't back and he was on IR. So the Titans have protected themselves with somebody. That said, Stonehouse on the field, I mean, with what we have seen is absolutely amazing. And I see the idea. So, through the phone, and so I'll be back with you all in a couple minutes, or as fast as I can log in. How's that sound?
That'll work. With that, let's go ahead and take a break here, Mark, and come back to the Lee Company Studios on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And when we get back, we hope to be joined by a fully operational TERESA Walker of the AP. So stay tuned after this.
The wild horses are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Hello, race fans, and welcome to Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Welcome back to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, and hopefully we have a fully connected TERESA Walker of the Associated Press joining us. Sorry, only audio, but we're going to see if that works better. TERESA, can you hear us? That does not work better. Wait, that's unfortunate.
We had high hopes as always.
We did, yeah. We always have high hopes when we have TERESA joining the show, and especially when we've got her joining us for a couple of segments, because in addition to football, we wanted to get into a little Preds and Grizzlies. Last week, Wade, the Predators announced that Mitch Korn is being hired as director of goalkeeping. He will oversee the organization's entire goaltending department, including goaltending coach Ben Vanderklok, goaltending development coach Jason Barron, and European development coach and scout Pekka Rinne. Work directly and remotely with the team's goaltenders and prospects in Nashville, Milwaukee, and overseas, and be involved in the scouting of professional and amateur goaltenders. So you've got a new goaltending guru in town. And additionally, Dan Hinote will not be renewed as an assistant for 24-25. Has been here since 2020, primarily responsible for overseeing the team's penalty kill, which ranked, I guess, in the lower half of the league at 78.9% during his time here. So I don't know. I don't.
One going in, one going out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about hockey to necessarily know how significant either of those moves are, which again is why we were reaching out to TERESA, who says she's in.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed and my lucky
and anything else we
pocket.
can cross. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the penalty kill is huge. I mean, let's face it. They lost their playoff series by a combined 1 goal. I mean, seriously, in the 6 games, it was 13 goals to 12, and their penalty kill was not good. And, now we know about the power play. That was kind of non-existent as well. So that's an area that they can improve on. But part of this, guys, is, Andrew Burnett, he has a season under his belt. And you sometimes look around and think, you know what? Somebody else is available that I want better. Or I've seen enough of this guy to think I want different. And you see staff changes. I mean, it happens more in the NFL, NHL, and NBA. But let's be honest. I mean, everybody's always looking to upgrade. And if you think you've got a scapegoat, you will take and make the change.
Explain to me the director of goaltending hire. What did that hierarchy look like prior to this? Are you familiar with this?
Well, yes, bringing back Mitch Korn, and let's just be honest. I mean, Mitch had been hooked at the hip, it seemed like, with Barry Trotz during his tenure here. The growth of Pekka Rinne into Pekka Rinne. When Barry went off to the Washington Capitals, I think Mitch Korn went with him. I'm not sure if he went with him to the Islanders, but Mitch Korn is kind of like a goalie whisperer. And to me, it seems that maybe, just maybe, well, let's put it this way. I would not be surprised if there was a trade of UC Saros and that nets maybe some offensive help, some much needed offensive help. And then you bring up some guy who's been just showing out and has a lot to learn. He's made that very clear down in Milwaukee, Yaroslav Askarov. So, I mean, yes, you've got Pekka Rinne, but Pekka is, sometimes, we're not quite sure how involved Pekka is with the goalie situation as a coach, or if he's more Predators ambassador sometimes. But here's the thing, Mitch Korn, I mean, he's the guy who can help bring out greatness in people and turn somebody who's you think is good into great. We saw it. Look from, Vokoun to Pekka and all the other goalies that Mitch worked with. So that's the hunch, the thought, the expectation at this point. So I'm really curious to see what does happen, especially as we get to NHL draft week here in the NHL. I know that Barry Trotz said he was looking at wanting to do an extension with UC Saros. UC Saros certainly deserves consideration and a new deal, but he is under contract for the next year, and his contract right now at $5 million, you're not going to get a much more tradable contract at this point. And let's face it, the Predators need offensive help, and goalie depth they got.
Yeah, that's what I was wanting. Goalie depth they got, and that's what I was curious about. Teresa, is what does your gut tell you? Does this signal kind of the end of the Saros realm? Because you make a pretty compelling argument when you say that you could fill quite a few holes, and if you're bringing in a guy like Korn, who's got a track record of building up some younger goalies into successful guys, it sure seems like that is the on paper approach. It looks like that they're trending toward.
Exactly. I mean, right now we're reading tea leaves or hockey scrapes on the ice, if you want to say, go with that trend or cliche. But the fact is, you bring in somebody like Mitch Korn, either you're thinking we can make UC Saros better and give him that contract, and we've got our goalie for the next 5 years. But on the other hand, Askarov, is getting antsy down in Milwaukee, okay? I mean, every young player who thinks he should be higher up, and we've seen it. He is a cocky, confident, some might say arrogant goalie. I mean, who doesn't love the showmanship when he does a shutout and then does a bench press of the goal? I mean, it's fun. That's what his bobblehead was at the AHL level. And when they brought him up for a little look-see, and he shuts out a couple of fellow Russians, including some guy named now I'm blanking on him, the Washington Capitals, and suddenly I'm completely blanking on one of the best scorers of all time, but he shut them both out in the shootout. Thank you. Oh, I was thinking, I was getting there, but yeah, again, Monday. So that's the thing, or, that's why I'm thinking, but here's the difference. Saros can improve his play. It's tough to forget the 8-game stretch where he gave up 4 goals on the first shot that he faced. He's the shortest goalie in the NHL. Askarov, 6'3". So there's, Saros is 5'9". That's a big difference. And you can fill the net a little bit more, right? So, does Askarov need some coaching and some smoothing out and some development? Yes. Is there some things that can only happen when you get to this level? Absolutely. So that's why it feels like, and maybe we're making a leap here. It just may be that Barry really likes working with Mitch Korn and wants him in the organization again. It might be just that simple. But when you look at the needs and look at the fact that this team could be playing, could have been playing the Edmonton Oilers, and that was a close series. And now former defenseman, in Nashville, Matthias Ekholm gets another chance to play for a Stanley Cup, which is great. But, if you're the Predators, you're thinking if I do A, B, C, maybe that can be ME next spring. You make some moves, and Barry Trotz has made it clear that he doesn't want to be in that quote mushy middle, and he's not afraid to make some moves. We saw it last year. He was a very active GM as he took the reins fully from David Boyle, and it just feels like he's he's not in the mood to sit back and be patient for a few things. He's ready to make a few things try and happen, and sometimes you have to force it.
Teresa, we've kind of seen the good, the bad, and the ugly out of UC here over the last couple of years. I mean, you hear his name mentioned as a Vezina Trophy candidate, but at the same time, you mentioned kind of the less than great performances as well. How tradable is he right now?
Very. The $5 million a year makes him very tradable, and the fact that his age is he's still a great age, and when he is playing at his best, he is very, very, very good. Let's not forget that he has finished 4th in the Vezina Trophy voting. I think that was just a year ago, guys, at the NHL Awards. So it's like this is one of those things that slow starts have been a problem for him, and you can make the argument that sometimes different surroundings make a difference, and you might be kicking yourself in a year if you make that trade, but them's the risk, guys. Sometimes you have to take that. But yes, Nashville has been spoiled with great goaltending. Let's be honest, okay? From the very beginning of this franchise, David Boyle built this franchise from the net out, and it's been that way, for a very long time. That said, there are a lot of teams in the NHL that would we'll find out what they might give for UC Saros.
Teresa, what are we hearing out of Memphis in regards to the upcoming draft? Anything? Nothing?
I'm hearing a lot. I mean, the easy thing is, Steven Adams, he's missed a season and a half with a knee injury. Do they go out and get a center? Can they, with where they're at, I think they're, if I'm remembering correctly, out of the lottery 9th. So that seems to be too low to get Donovan Klingen from, if that's how you say his last name, from UConn. Zach Edey, I'm sorry. I'd have to be working him out really hard. They traded away a very big man who was a double-double machine in Jonas Valanciunas to try to free up and get more movement in the offense with the young talent that they've got. This is a team that when you look at the West, yes, it's loaded, but the Grizzlies have got to be saying after this season, all we need is Ja to stay out of trouble and stay healthy, and for the rest of this roster to stay healthy, and we can go. But they need a big man, and that's the thing. How do they fill that spot? And do they do it by trying to trade with somebody and bring somebody in? Do they try to trade up to get a Klingon? And having been a Star Trek fan, I want to call him Klingon. But, that's the thing. How do they fill that big man spot is the biggest question that I think that they're going to have to answer going into the draft. Does it involve a trade? Does it involve trading up, trading away? How do they fill that spot? That's the one need that they have. And, after playing 50, they played 50 different starting lineups this season. I mean, Taylor Jenkins has got to be drooling at the thought of being able to put the same 5 guys out there, even if it's just for a 5-game stretch this upcoming season.
Go ahead,
Teresa, and that's what I am maybe kind of scratching my head and wondering is, linearly, it seems like the draft is where they potentially could build on what's on its surface, a pretty promising little roster, but you almost kind of wonder when you mention trading away, that almost seems, instead of trading up potentially, it doesn't seem like that maybe is a route that is in their future. So I'm curious, if they deal somebody, which would be kind of unfortunate because it seems like the core is there, but it's just not. It hasn't lined up exactly the way it needs to. And without Adams being in the mix, man, if they had a veteran big man like Adams to really kind of hammer that roster home, it seemed like they'd be set. So now I'm curious if somebody, maybe even like a Marcus Smart or somebody of that nature, unfortunately, may be on the block already for Memphis.
I think they like what Marcus Smart brings to this roster with his experience. And because let's not forget, even with them all getting a year older, this is still a really, really young team. So I think I think they want to keep Smart is my hunch here. I think they just need to find a way, and maybe Steven Adams can prove to them that, okay, guys, I really am healthy. But at this point, they've got to get a big man to at the least back him up. They got Brandon Clark back late in the season, and he's a guy who can kind of fill that spot as a backup or reserve, but you need somebody who can be a starter for that spot. You got to figure out who that is, and if it's not Adams, you got to go get him.
Teresa, real quick, we also saw kind of a real breakout performance from G.G. Jackson, who's still one. You mentioned youth. He's I think was the youngest player in the NBA, or at least second or third youngest. Where does he fit? And does Memphis feel like they just absolutely hit a gold mine by finding a talent like he had this year?
Oh, I think they found a gold mine. I mean, I think he was second all rookie team. And considering that, Memphis's record was bad, and very, very bad, he made an impression. So he's a guy I think you keep and see what because guess what? You can always use scorers and shooters, and he got tons of playing time to develop this season. So seriously, the one question for this team is stay healthy, and how do you fill that 5 spot and figure out who your center is going to be. And yes, 5 spot, 1 spot, and I'm stuck between sports seasons, so we'll just go with middleman center, and because I can't remember if the guard right now is. I need vacation time. I need some WD-40 before I have to go over to Europe for the Olympics, where I will be helping with basketball, and I'll get that down very clear then. But they need to find that guy and know that they've got him going into the season. And that's why I'm really curious. And guys, strangely enough, the NBA that won't confirm any trades that'll be done on draft night until the season starts in July, the calendar year for the NBA, they've spread their draft over 2 nights because there just wasn't nearly enough action talked about that they can't really talk about until July, right?
I know that NBA writers have to be ecstatic over a 2-night, 2-round draft. So
it's not the word I'd use.
Teresa Walker of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports today and fighting technology to do so. We appreciate it and look forward to catching up with you after you make your trip to your internet provider and give them a big old what for. So
trust me, that's next up on the list because I ain't got time for this.
I hear you. Hang in there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for your patience, guys.
Thank you for joining us. Hey, when we come back for the second hour of Main Street Sports today, which I guess we are actually already into, but we're going to take a break here from the Lee Company Studios. When we come back, talk a little baseball. Stay with us.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
June 3rd, 2004, Julio Franco's first inning grand slam extended a one-run lead and gave the Braves a cushion they'd never relinquish, providing the eventual margin of victory in an 8-4 win over visiting Philadelphia. The ageless Franco, then 45 years old, became the oldest major leaguer to hit a grand slam. That was this day in Braves history. Julio doing Julio things, man. 45 years old, hitting grand slams. It's pretty impressive. And, you know, Wade, we'll see him on Twitter or whatever here from time to time, even now, you know, in a batting cage somewhere hitting rockets. It's just whoever came up with the term fall out of bed and get a base hit probably had Julio in mind. So wonder if the Braves should re-sign him.
You know, I was just getting ready to say, I don't know what he does on a day-to-day, but and without having seen any of those clips, I'm not surprised, number one. But number two, yeah, I was just envisioning either him, you know, somewhere back in the Dominican or just somewhere on a beach or somewhere where he just rolls out of bed and goes to a local park and just puts on a show from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because he can.
Yeah, just, you know, walks into a little high school, you know, practice session, says, "Hey, y'all mind if I take a couple cuts?" and then hits like 6 bombs. I mean, it's just that's what I'm envisioning, at least. The ageless wonder.
Yeah. As we said during the rundown, the Braves defeated Oakland 3-1 yesterday to take 2 out of 3 in that weekend series from the Athletics. And it's wild because the one that they lost was an 11-1 game that it never really felt like they were in, because Oakland jumped all over, of all people, Chris Sale. Sale gave up 8 runs in 4 innings. Sale, who was named today the National League Pitcher of the Month for May. So
Weird
I
game.
guess it it really is. It really is. We're going to talk about how weird it is here in just a little bit. But yeah, they got 2 out of 3 from Oakland. They finished up 3-4 on the homestand. They're off today before they go to Boston for the replication of that 2-game set that they had with the Red Sox at Truist Park a couple of weeks ago. That we've talked about how strange that was. But yeah, interesting times for the Braves right now. Hurston Waldrop, the draftee out of the University of Florida from last year, got promoted to Gwinnett from Mississippi over the weekend and had a double-digit strikeout performance in his Class AAA debut. Also going to Gwinnett earlier today was catcher Chadwick Tromp. And I guess, with Sean Murphy back and healthy, there's really not much of a need to carry that third catcher. I don't think Tromp had played since Murphy was activated last Monday. So get him back down there, get him some playing time, and open up a spot. That spot has not been filled yet. I expect it will be before they head to Boston for this 2-game series this week. Astros showing some signs of life, but inconsistently so, I guess, Wade?
I think so. It was a good weekend not to be keeping up with them, as won the middle game but lost the front and back end. Close game yesterday, it looks like 4-3 with as we kind of touched on Friday, Minnesota coming to town, and yeah, they're 7.5 games back. They kind of have just not really been consistent enough. They had a couple other shocker or spoiler injury issues. A couple of their guys that were on the verge of coming back are now going to be delayed. I mean, it ain't looking good for Houston. Other than Kyle Tucker, who's been swinging a good bat all year, things have not been going great in Space City.
Yeah, and as you mentioned last week, interesting series starts up tonight when St. Louis comes to town. Kind of an underrated rivalry there between those two, so it'll kind of get the juices flowing anyway.
You would think so, and the good news is for both those teams, somebody's got to win a couple of games, unless Bud Selig, got involved somehow. There are not going to be any ties going down here, but the Cardinals, maybe I shouldn't write them off too much. I know that they're 7 games back, but they're only 1 game under 500. And they've won 7 out of their last 10. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them give Houston a little runaround here in this series. They've really kind of put themselves in a bad spot because Seattle has kind of heated up here in the last week or two. And they've opened up a 4-game lead on Texas now, and now 7.5 for Houston. So we're probably another 2 weeks away from Houston really having to do some soul searching and, ask that age-old question at the break. Are we buyers or are we sellers? And right now it looks like they're trending towards sellers at this point.
Yeah, Jim Bowden of The Athletic already kind of has asked that question of every major league team. There's an article up. I did not see where he had the Astros classified in that buyers, sellers, or somewhere in the middle. But again, y'all got Verlander going tonight. I don't know that makes a difference or not, but you'd like
can't hurt, that's for sure. And so being at home with Verlander, a chance to maybe start the series off on a little bit of a promising note if they can maybe scrape some wins out to get the Angels, which is a divisional series, maybe get some mojo going there, and then. Kind of glancing further down the schedule here in about another 2 weeks, they get a little stretch with the Tigers and the White Sox and the Rockies later in the month. So the schedule does lighten up a little bit. You just hope that it's not too little too late at that point.
Well, I hope that your team takes better advantage of the lighter schedule than mine did. We talked last week with Christina DiNicola, who covers the Marlins for MLB.com, about former Loretto standout Ryan Weathers, who had gone 5 straight quality starts. Well, Saturday's was the dud, but It's an interesting dud.
Mm-hmm.
6 innings pitched, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, no walks, a career high 11 strikeouts in an eventual 7-0 loss to Texas, the reigning World Series champ. So that is a better than good offense, and he put up 11 strikeouts, did not hurt himself with a single walk, and it sounds like he had maybe one or two bad innings, but I don't think that start Saturday really takes a whole lot away from the progress that Ryan Weathers has clearly been making here over the last month or so, and that's just a wild looking line right there.
Crazy line, and I saw a cool quote over the weekend. Their manager, Schumacher, Skip Schumacher, he said, "I'll take that version of Ryan every day of the week." I mean, you would assume, you get 11 strikeouts. More often than not, you're going to have a pretty dang solid day. So maybe you just chalk that up to one of those just weird afternoons. But man, he has been pitching very well. We've kind of been on him all season, and he continues to kind of put up some big numbers. That was the most by a pitcher across MLB on Saturday.
And here's the thing, 4 earned runs, that's going to give you a chance to win more often than not, in Major League Baseball in 2024. So, maybe that's what Skip had in mind when he said that. So definitely we will continue to keep an eye on Weathers. I guess his next start would probably be Thursday-ish. So we will see how that goes. Wade, scrolling through Twitter as we are wont to do. San Diego Padres infielder Tucupita, Tucupita, Tucupita Marcano is under investigation for allegedly violating MLB's gambling policy. 24-year-old apparently bet on Pittsburgh last year while he was on the Pirates injured list. You are not allowed to bet on baseball at all if you are a Major League Baseball player. And if you bet on your own team, you are subject to a lifetime ban. Now, Marcano has not played for San Diego. He's got a torn ACL, but he was with Pittsburgh, and this is his second time with the Padres, actually. He was traded to Pittsburgh in 2021 and came back to San Diego over this offseason on waivers, but it was last year, again, while he was on the injured list, that he allegedly bet on the Pirates, according to the Wall Street Journal.
Interesting. This is interesting for a couple of reasons. And number one, I'm reading the same CBS Sports article here. I love this line. MLB rules stipulate that a player is legally permitted to gamble on non-diamond sports, but they cannot gamble on baseball or softball at any level. So if you had any ideas of, throwing down some cash on the College World Series,
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
I know you may have a hot tip on the ladies out in Oklahoma City, but don't do it if you're in the MLB. So I found that interesting. The other interesting thing after all this, and this doesn't say whether this was, done, unless I'm missing something with a quote unquote bookie or, a situation like we saw with Ohtani where it's like through a middleman of some sort. But if you're doing this on an app or you're doing this kind of like everybody else is, this thing is 100% traceable, just like anything on the internet, traceable, trackable, etc. So you gotta, you just gotta really be kind of, I don't know that I can finish the statement, but you got to be extra kind of special to really think about doing that, knowing that you're pretty much monitored 24/7 and knowing that that's like the one sport. It's interesting too, because MLB is different than the NFL, like we've seen. They're like, yeah, as long as you don't bet on baseball, we don't really care what other sports you're betting on. Whereas the NFL, it's a little more widespread and wide encompassing. So, come on, man. That's tough.
There is very much a Chris Carter aspect to this. Yes.
Absolutely.
Come on, man. I mean, on the one hand, it's really kind of hypocritical, as involved as all of our sports are now with all those betting apps and that kind of thing, like you said.
That is true.
But on the other hand, you know the rule.
That's what I'm saying. That's the thing to me is MLB seems to have a much looser policy in the sense like, yeah, you want to go out and bet on basketball, be my guest. Just all we ask is you steer clear of baseball. And what's the one sport that our guy kind of gets busted for? A couple other minor leaguers who they did not name potentially face discipline for betting on, I assume, big league games at that point. But again, same deal, man. Just like we're letting you have pretty free reign with a lot of stuff. Why you got to go off and bet on the one sport we tell you not to bet on? So I would not be surprised. And again, it's all traceable, it's all trackable. So if they find that, I mean, you're looking at 24 years old being banned for life.
That's tough. And I mean, like you said it all. I mean, why would you put yourself in that position? So, again, the Sounds completed their series out at Memphis yesterday with a 9-2 victory, highlighted by a Tyler Black grand slam, the first of his AAA career. So, Sounds open a 6-game series at home tomorrow against the visiting Louisville Bats. We will be broadcasting live from First Horizon Park on Friday, so be sure and check that out starting at 2 o'clock Friday afternoon, in addition to the rest of the week at 2 o'clock. But the scenery will be a little different on Friday, so be sure and tune in for that. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia, we will be joined by Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon, talking a little Vols baseball and who their next opponent will be. So stay tuned after this break from the Lee Company studio.
Nashville Super Speedway.
That's right, guitars and fast cars right here in Music City. This summer, NASCAR is back at the Nashville Super Speedway. Get your tickets now to watch your favorite driver take on the 1.33 miles of concrete chaos. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to lock in your spot June 28th through the 30th for the Ally 400 race weekend.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
races are coming to Franklin. The Mustang Heritage Spectacular. 4 days of celebrity freestyle, liberty training, trick riding, and extreme Mustang makeover. Plus the shopping. Over 100 vendor spaces with clothing, food, home goods, and things you can't find anywhere else. All that and celebrity signings at a music stage too. June 20th through 23rd at Williamson County Ag Expo Park. Don't miss a moment with a weekend pass. MustangHeritageFoundation.org for tickets.
Monday Mirror continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, and we are now joined from Knoxville by Caleb JARREAU of the UT Daily Beacon. Caleb, good afternoon.
How are y'all guys doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing good. Beautiful weekend for baseball this past weekend, and looks like the weather's shaping up for another one too. So I'm excited to watch some more baseball.
Awesome. Hey, so Tennessee wins its opener in the Knoxville region Friday 9-3 over Northern Kentucky. Who'd have thought that that was just getting warm for that Tennessee offense? Because they turned around and defeated Indiana 12-6 on Saturday, and then took care of Southern Miss 12-3 last night to score 33 runs in 3 regional games, sweeping to that championship. I mean, this offense was everything that it's been cracked up to be.
Yeah, I think it was probably one of the most complete offensive weekends this team has had, if not the most complete. And I feel like that's saying a ton about this team with the season they've had. I mean, you break the single season program record in home runs this weekend. They hit their 159th from Cal Stark, who hit his in the top of the 9th because Tennessee was the away team on their home field. That capped off a great weekend for Stark. I mean, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and he scored 5 runs in the 9 hole. So if you have that guy producing at the bottom of the lineup, you know what the top of the lineup can do. And it was just an all-around great offensive weekend. Like you said, I think it was 33 runs total for the weekend. And you're talking about some teams like Indiana that their starter didn't have the best day. The crowd got to him, but that's not in Southern Miss either. Neither of those teams are really bad baseball teams. Like you mentioned, the probably least talented team in the regional was Northern Kentucky, and they held Tennessee down the most. So I'd say it was an all-around productive weekend offensively. Definitely the offensive weekend you want to have going into a super regional, which for the Tennessee's been the 2 seed 2 times in the last 3 years, and they've yet to face a 16 seed. So the Evansville Purple Aces are on their way to Knoxville for a super regional.
The Evansville Purple Aces are on their way courtesy of a 6-5 victory at East Carolina earlier today. And, you know, I've kind of been considering this scenario over the last 24 hours or so. You know, Caleb, are you breathing a sigh of relief if you're Tennessee that it's the number 4 seed out of that regional, or are you really, really concerned because the number 4 seed was good enough to beat a number 1 seed twice on their home field?
I think it's a mix of both, honestly. For me, something that stood out when I was watching that game today when they beat East Carolina, it started at noon, and the commentators kept talking about it a lot as well, is Evansville never looked tense. They were messing with the crowd, like they were joking with each other. The coach was smiling in the dugout. Like they're in a win-or-go-home game facing a number 1 seed, and they did not tense up at all. Evansville has nothing to lose. It's their first super regional in program history. Nobody expected them to be here. If they came to Tennessee and got run ruled twice, nobody would bat an eye. Tennessee, on the other hand, the number 1 overall national seed, has a ton of expectations. So I think you're bringing in, I don't know if it'd be a sigh of relief. I'm probably leaning towards the other way, Mo. I feel like you're bringing in a 4 seed that just defeated East Carolina, which is one of the hardest places to play baseball at. Defeated them twice. They have a true ace and a freshman southpaw. And you've got 11 seniors in that lineup and 5th and 6th year guys who have been through it, were on the brink last year of making the postseason, lost out. They have nothing to lose. If their careers are over, a lot of those guys are not pro guys. I mean, if you've played college baseball 6 years, you probably don't have a professional baseball future. So if they win, they're happy. And if they lose, I mean, they've made it farther than any team in Evansville history. So I'd definitely be worried about the Purple Aces and what they bring. I still think, obviously, Tennessee's lineup top to bottom will be more talented. Tennessee's team is more talented, but baseball is a crazy sport, and whenever you get into the postseason, it gets even crazier. I mean, we saw a game in Greenville today. There was a line drive that should have been an unassisted triple play, and the umpire never told the shortstop that he didn't catch it in the air, and base running mistakes and hoops and hollers galore. So I'd be a little nervous, but we'll have to see what happens when they hit the field.
And I guess the last time, well, before this weekend, the last time Tennessee faced a team from Indiana in a super regional, it didn't go so well. So
that is very true.
Yeah. Obviously this offense took care of business all weekend. What were Tony V's thoughts? What were the thoughts in the press box regarding how the pitching fell out over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, I think all in all, it was kind of expected. Tony chalked up the one outing that stands out to me the most is Saturday's outing from Drew Beam, where he went 6 up, 6 down, rolled through 2 innings, and then ran into trouble in the 3rd and the 4th. And some people were talking like, well, maybe we should have, a conversation about if Drew Beam's fallen off or if he's still consistent, when Tony Vitello's theory was the offense put up like a 4 spot and a 5 spot, and it took 30 minutes each time because Indiana couldn't find the strike zone. So it's hard for a starting pitcher to be as hot as he was and then start that game and then go sit down for 30 minutes, then come back out and then go sit down for 30 minutes again. So I wouldn't worry too much about Drew Beam's outing after Vitello didn't seem worried about it. And if he's any indication, then I think you're good. And then night one, Chris Stamos didn't have the best outing, but he's also had that happen before. I think the biggest thing with this team and the pitching is your pitching is good enough with what the offense is. And if you want to talk, you mentioned 2022 a second there with the team coming from Indiana. That was probably the best pitching staff in recent memory for Tennessee, and ended up falling in the super regionals because that's just what happens in baseball. So I think the pitching was all right. You got standout outings from A.J. Causey, who's been a dog for Tennessee on the mound coming in after Chris Stamos against Northern Kentucky. You got a great outing against Nate Snead. He's been consistent, a sophomore too. So that's a young guy that's kind of – the lights were bright, and he answered the call. So Aaron Combs was great. Obviously, Kirby Connell has been consistent. I think you have enough veterans in that bullpen to kind of piece it together. My only worry with the pitching is if you were to go to like if Tennessee was playing today and didn't beat Southern Miss yesterday, who they would throw, or if you get into a tournament setting and you're 4 or 5 games in, then you're rolling out some more inconsistent guys. But in a super regional setting, in a normal weekend series, or as normal as it gets, I guess, then I feel super confident in Tennessee's pitching staff.
And that pitching depth kind of took a hit heading into the weekend with the announcement that AJ Russell is no longer available, I guess, or was that just this weekend?
It was. So Vitello said that AJ Russell this past weekend in the regional was unavailable, and that he'd be getting looked at again. I feel like at this point in the season, if you're still dealing with soreness and you're still having to get looked at by doctors, it's probably better for AJ Russell to maybe just shut it down and wait for next year. I mean, best case scenario, he probably has 2 or 3 outings if he's healthy and can pitch. So he's getting looked at again. We haven't had an update. I'm sure whenever we talk to Tony again in the midweek, probably Wednesday or Thursday, he'll update his status again. But if you get him, it raises the ceiling of the pitching staff, but his loss is not one I think Tennessee really loses sleep over, because you have so many guys who've carved out their roles in that bullpen.
Caleb, I'm curious, in addition, obviously trying to get some guys healthy, what will this week kind of look like for the team in the build up to the super regional? Just, I assume, just try and keep things loose and just relaxed as much as we can. And then also, what's the crowd going to look like heading into this weekend? Because we chatted last week that Knoxville's a crazy place to watch a game, and that's a rabid fan base. But with Evansville coming in, I'm just curious if the crowd is going to be as ravenous as we might expect heading into the super regionals.
Yeah, I'll start with the crowd portion. I think even though it is Evansville, the crowd will be as crazy as it could be, because it hasn't been since 21, I guess, since they've watched Tennessee earn an Omaha berth. Because you got to remember, last year was at Southern Miss, so Tennessee fans didn't get to watch the Vols go to Omaha. This year, you think like Drew Beam is gone next year. Christian Moore is gone next year, more than likely. Blake Burke is gone next year. You'll probably lose a couple outfielders. Billy Amick's probably not coming back. He's got money coming out of the wazoo when he enters professional baseball. So fans are going to want to watch those guys one last time. They're going to want to see Tennessee clinch an Omaha berth on its home field. I think those two things combined will get fans into the stadium a little more than just the opponent. I think this weekend, in all three games, really, the crowd was crazy innings 1 through 4, and then it's like, all right, it's 12-2 now, and then the stadium kind of cleared out. So you probably will get similar vibes to that, I would feel, if Tennessee does what it should against a team the caliber of Evansville. But I wouldn't count the crowd out any much just because they want to see Tennessee win and they want to see those seniors one last time. And then this week for Tennessee, I feel like it definitely will be more laid back. Evansville doesn't really play a very unique brand of baseball, I would say. Not like I was watching Wofford play LSU and they bunt and steal every base in the park. So I don't think you have to practice any extra to prepare for Evansville. Probably a normal week for the Vols. Got some midweek bullpens for some guys. Maybe see if A.J. Russell's healthy and then rest for some other guys. But I wouldn't expect anything crazy this week, probably just the same old. We watched practice last week before the regional, and it was literally just their warm-up routine and then some like BP feel-good swings, and they called it a day. So I figure probably 3 or 4 of those days, and then they'll head into the Supers.
And then as you kind of mentioned, you were keeping tabs on a lot of different games. SEC kind of a mixed bag, I guess, as a whole in terms of teams advancing, but a few teams did obviously fall by the wayside already. Anything – what shocked you, if anything, in terms of SEC competition this past weekend?
Yeah, I think the two off the top of my head are South Carolina and now head coachless South Carolina. That's a coaching search to hire since Mark Kingston was fired in Columbia. That one is interesting to me too, because you have the athletic director was the guy who won back-to-back national titles for that team. So if he should get anything right, it's going to be this baseball hire. I know already I've seen some stuff kind of on Twitter and Facebook about Tennessee assistant Josh Elander. I don't know if he wants to leave Tennessee or not, but I know that he's a very, very, very good coach, a very good recruiter, and is probably going to be somebody that South Carolina looks at. But then you also have other coaches. Obviously, East Carolina's head coach pops up in that mix. Wake Forest's guy. Some of those guys that'll get looked at for South Carolina's job. But that program, for the talent they have 1 through 9 and the pitching staff they had, should have done a lot better than they did this year. And I'm not surprised to see Ray Tanner pull the plug on the Mark Kingston coaching staff there at South Carolina, And some South Carolina players are tweeting today that they want the assistant coach, who's the interim, to take over as head coach. So I don't know what's going to happen in Columbia, but that's definitely one to watch because they're a baseball powerhouse and kind of go the way the water flows in the SEC, really. And it's a team that Tennessee will probably have to play next year. And then Vanderbilt, obviously, which I'm sure y'all have talked about already, but going 2-Q in their regional is not very good. And losing to High Point is also not good, especially, once again, with the talent they have and the pedigree that Vanderbilt baseball is. Those are two that come to the top of my head. And then obviously you look today, Florida and LSU are still playing. Florida barely made the tournament. I didn't think they should have made the tournament. They got swept by Missouri, had some horrible midweek losses, make the tournament. Now they're playing a Game 7 in the regional. They got drawn, and LSU plays today too. So SEC is all over the place, but when you really look at it, the good coaching staffs and the teams that have built their team to get hot late in the season seem to progress and do well right now. You see the same thing in basketball and with baseball and everything too, is if you get hot at the right time, it doesn't matter really what talent you have, but if you're playing your best ball in the postseason, then obviously you can make a little run.
Do you think Texas should have its application for SEC status revoked after what we saw in their rivalry matchup this weekend?
I don't think. I think they're already. It's too late. I think they're in. We're
too deep in the game. You're telling me?
So,
yeah, well, they've got the party scheduled, Wade.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what you do about it at this point.
I got a couple Longhorns fans that were not happy with the results from this weekend, and said maybe you're just not SEC material after all. I don't know, but
it's too late. I fear we're 27 days away now from when they're officially in the SEC. But no, I think the Longhorns, when they add to this conference for baseball, if not just the history they have, I think they'll be really good. Then you look at Oklahoma too. Oklahoma's kind of been sneaky good the past couple of years. They made that championship run not too long ago. And then obviously both very good softball programs. So spring sports, everybody talks about football, but I think spring sports with both of those schools coming to the SEC will be really fun.
And Oklahoma and UConn, that should be a pretty good game a little bit later tonight, right? I think it's them. I think it's UConn at least, and Oklahoma.
It is.
Are gonna
It
play.
is.
Yeah, so that should be a pretty good one.
UConn has some of the best jerseys in college baseball.
Yes.
They might not be the best baseball school, but they got some good jerseys. I'll give them that. Also, it's always good to see schools like UConn in the postseason because they probably could not practice outside until maybe 2 months ago. Like their offseason looks a lot different from a school like Tennessee or even South Carolina, where like Tennessee we were watching fall practices early November on the turf field, and then we came back when school started, like the third week of January, and they were back on the field like nothing. So I always commend the schools from the North because it's just that much harder to be good at baseball and make the postseason.
Absolutely. Caleb JARREAU of the Daily Beacon joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Caleb, you gave us more credit than maybe we deserved. We had not really talked about Vanderbilt, and I was kind of hoping to, just kind of get the pulse of the press box up at Lindsey Nelson over the weekend as Vanderbilt dropped that game 13-3 to Coastal, and then, like you said, 10-9 to High Point in the elimination game on Saturday to go to it. And Q, what are people that watch Southeastern Conference baseball saying about Vanderbilt?
If I remember correctly, they played the early game on Saturday, so we were all talking about it over our pregame meals. But it was a lot of surprise because you had all these 13-win SEC teams that should have made the tournament and did make the tournament, and Vanderbilt was one of those teams where if I'm a host side, I don't want to see Vanderbilt as my 2 seed. If I'm I guess it was Clemson, right? That was their host.
Right.
I don't want to see Vanderbilt as my 2 seed. And sure enough, they went 2 in barbecue. So that was a very shocking result. I thought they'd at least win 1 and maybe push Clemson on the Sunday. But you look at, Coastal's a good baseball school too. And then a lot of people, I saw the Twitter discourse was not good for the SEC. That all these 13-win teams made it in the tournament. And then you had schools like Charleston, who probably should have made the tournament, or maybe some other bubble teams who got bumped down because they had to take in another SEC school. And it's mind-blowing that Vanderbilt went 0-2 in a regional. We had the conversation, I think I might have brought it up, but it was like, would you rather not make a regional as Vanderbilt, or would you rather make a regional
and go 0-2
and then go 0-2? And the Southern Miss people who were sitting there were like, well, rather make a regional. And I was like, yeah, but for Vanderbilt, that's a program that if you're making a regional, they're expecting an Omaha run. So it almost, and from my point of view, it almost would have been like, if you don't make a regional, you just cut your losses, forget about this year and look to next year. And they extended it another week, added more storylines, and then got embarrassed on Friday by Coastal, and then lost to High Point, which is probably their worst loss of the season.
Probably, but they have made, I think, 18 straight regionals, which I think is the longest current streak in the country. So there is that.
Surprise me.
Yeah, but yeah, that's an interesting question that you raised there, Caleb, young Caleb. What are you expecting this weekend? I mean, is this a sweep for the Vols?
I mean, I would pick sweep. It might not be an easy sweep, but like I said, Evansville, the Purple Aces have a really good ace that'll throw on Friday. And if I had to bet Friday or Saturday, whatever day ESPN decides to put the game, but if I had to bet, that's a guy who's probably going to try his best on national television on Friday or Saturday with every outing he gets. Because if he's as good as Build against Tennessee, he's probably entering the transfer portal and asking a Power 5 conference school for a lot of money. So he might have some extra motivation on that day one start, but even if he doesn't have extra motivation, he's a lefty. Tennessee does not like hitting against lefties. That's been their kryptonite this year. And he's a really good lefty. So I think that game one will not be an easy one to win. And then once you get past game one, I feel like Tennessee, with their depth and the talent they're able to roll out, should be able to, if not get a sweep, at least get a convincing series win over Evansville and go to Omaha and try to build on what they had last year, where last year you had your first win since Chris Burke was playing in Omaha, and now you can try to get 2 this season.
You make an interesting point there with the young pitcher for Evansville and the portal and NIL and, kind of where we are in college athletics and college baseball at this point. I mean, it's almost like every game is a tryout, right?
basically, and especially for in the postseason, for like if you're a player, for example, for Northern Kentucky, and you're playing against Tennessee in a primetime Friday night game with a lot of eyes on you, that's film you can send to somebody like, hey, I hit a 400-foot bomb off of AJ Causey, who was Tennessee's basically ace. And then that'll get a lot of teams looking at you. But that's also what makes this Evansville team really interesting, because they have a bunch of fifth and sixth year seniors. You've got 11 seniors. This day and age in college baseball, you don't really see kids, if they're seniors, staying at like a Missouri Valley Conference school or a Horizon League school or schools like that, when the transfer portal is so easy to go to the SEC, and you see that all the time. You see interconference transfers. LSU shortstop went from South Carolina to LSU this year. I'm sure South Carolina, depending on who they hire, will have a roster, crusade into the SEC and have players transferring out. So it really is rare to see what Evansville has in the veteran lineup. And I think it is going to be a good showcase for this kid, because I know when I turned on ESPN this year, I didn't see Evansville anywhere until noon today. So I think they'll have a good shot. And a lot of those guys too, like Evansville starter closed out the ninth and he threw 81 pitches like yesterday or Friday or sometime this weekend. That's stuff you don't see. So those guys really are treating it it gives me like almost like a high school team where it's like, now we're going to win it this year. We're not. So it's going to be a unique test, and it's going to be very different from what Tennessee's faced this year, especially with the way Evansville played this today and this weekend.
Caleb JARREAU of the Daily Beacon. You can find him on Twitter at Caleb JARREAU16. Caleb, we appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. Enjoy a little downtime this week, kind of the calm before the storm, before the Purple Aces roll into Lindsey Nelson Stadium this weekend, and we'll be catching up.
Yep. Guys, I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Caleb.
When we return to the Monday Mirror edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's the final segment. It's the grab bag. It's the weekend update. We'll look back at what took place over the weekend, what caught our eye, and we'll do that after this break.
Are you roofing or teaming up to send a family of four to the Rackley Roofing 200 truck race at the Nashville Super Speedway on June 28th? All you have to do is head to your favorite Main Street Media site and click on the Rackley banner to win.
Final segment of the Monday Mirror here on Main Street Sports Today. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Wade, the feel-good story of what? The spring, the year? What do we want to call this?
Certainly of the spring, I would say. I mean, maybe for the year.
Yeah.
Until another contender emerges, this is right up there.
The leader in the clubhouse. Well,
yeah.
It has come to an end. The Birmingham Southern Panthers got walked off in an elimination game yesterday at the Division III College World Series up in Ohio. Gave up a home run in the bottom of the ninth to fall 11-10 to Wisconsin Whitewater. Lost their opener on Friday. Came back with an elimination victory on Saturday before taking a 10-5 lead against Wisconsin Whitewater. The Wisconsin Whitewater Warhawks. Somebody up there got a sense of humor, clearly. But again, got up 10-5, but couldn't hang on to it as the Warhawks came roaring back to eliminate the Panthers in that one and send them into, the unknown, because as we've mentioned, this school ceased to exist as of Friday. They went 19-6 once they learned that the school was going to close down at the end of the school year. Several of these guys are trying to find new homes. Some are just walking away from baseball, and they've got 10 graduates. So it's surely had to be bittersweet last night, I guess, for them. But uh, that would have been one of the greatest stories ever if they had some kind of way been able to win the whole thing. And they were close. I think today is the consolation final, I guess, or the losers bracket final. And I guess they would have had to have beaten somebody twice to win it, but fell a little short.
Yeah, tough break, and saw quite a bit of chatter in the aftermath, of course, and really it was kind of cool. Back at the hotel, did see some of the discourse kind of really rolling in over the weekend after they picked up that win 9-7, as you mentioned, over Randolph-Macon. I mean, they even got, Stanford Steve was wearing the Birmingham Southern jersey on SBP this weekend. I mean, they kind of really, really caught fire in terms of the national spotlight. And it's one of those stories. It would have just been like literally one of the wildest stories imaginable had they continued to somehow go on this run. But kind of like Caleb just touched on in our last segment, I mean, some of these guys, I don't think they've certainly played their last bit of baseball, and I don't think some of these guys are going to be playing D3 baseball next year. I would imagine at least one or two are going to end up making a leap and potentially at a quote unquote bigger school because of some of this exposure that they got. If nothing else, they got some extra eyeballs out of the deal. So I guess that's the final chapter in the BSC yearbook, as it were. And so I really don't know what happens next. I did read something last week too, that Alabama A&M out of Huntsville is either made a bid or is potentially in the process of trying to take over the campus. And so the campus is in some shape, form, or fashion. It's a beautiful campus, going to be repurposed in some capacity. So that's kind of nice, at least in the sense that it's not just going to bulldoze it, and build a giant Walmart or anything right there. So at least higher ed will continue to hopefully live on in that capacity. But yeah, kind of an unfortunate situation, but we got to go out with one cool ride at the end.
Absolutely. You mentioned it during the rundown. Nashville Soccer Club went up to Cincinnati for a midweek matchup and picked up a 2-0 victory. Came back to Geodis this weekend and fell to the New England Revolution 2-1.
Woof.
Not good.
Nope. And I don't want to say I didn't predict it, but I was not shocked when I saw this, because that's just kind of how NSC seems to go. They win ones that they're not supposed to win, and they lose ones they're not supposed to lose. And after such an emotional win last week, Rumba Munthali picks up his first win as interim manager. They fall flat on their face. Mukhtar scored late. I mean, they were down 2-0. And so that could have been even worse, but losing at home to one of the worst team in terms of standings in the MLS, that is not good for the boys in gold.
Yeah, they are in the midst of a tough run, but they're still in the mix for postseason play.
Yeah, so. Definitely. It will probably take a catastrophic fall for them not to be within a game or two as the season goes along of at least sniffing the playoffs. But what this has done, I think, and I saw a lot of folks chatting about this online, is this does crank up the argument, hey, if you maybe thought about holding off on a manager until the end of the season, that may go by the wayside. This might really kind of ratchet up the pressure, at least from the fans. Who knows what management thinks, obviously, but from the fans, at least, this is certainly going to ratchet up the pressure that they need to get somebody in on a permanent basis now if you want to salvage any sort of season for the rest of this year.
Speaking of salvaging seasons, the Nashville Cats trailed 14-7 at the half Saturday against visiting and previously undefeated Albany, and rallied back, but not far enough, as they fell 32-25 to the Firebirds. Not a great shock because they had lost at Albany earlier this year, but still fallen to 2-4 with that loss.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good for the Cats. And let the record show, Mo, you and I advertised on Friday that it would be kind of cool and kind of fun potentially if you went to the Cats game and then went to the Nashville soccer match Saturday. But we didn't say that we were responsible for anything that the team was going to provide in terms of results. So let's just let the record show that in case anybody took us up on that, we had nothing to do with the play on the field.
We were guaranteeing nothing. We just thought it might be fun to get 2 games in. We did not guarantee 2 wins or even 1, and that's a good thing because we didn't get them. Ramon Adkins went out before halftime, the starting quarterback for the Cats, and Dalton Oliver threw for 3 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. Again, the Cats 2-4 with that loss. They will resume play
this weekend, I believe.
This weekend at Billings, Montana against the Outlaws.
If there's ever a game that Jeff Fisher was made for, it's a trip to Montana to see the Outlaws and the Cats. So maybe the commish will venture back out to his homeland there.
Prior to that game Saturday, Cats season ticket holders received communication that their scheduled June 16th home game, the opponent for that game has left the league. The Nashville Cats want to notify our valued season ticket holders that due to some recent changes within the Arena Football League, our June 16th opponent is no longer a member of the league. Interim Commissioner Jeff Fisher and the Nashville Cats organization have been working diligently to rework the Cats schedule to add an opponent. However, there is a possibility that the Cats will need to take a bye that week. If this happens, we are looking at a possible makeup home game in early July. We expect to have more clarity on this in the next couple of days, and we'll notify you immediately once a final decision has been made. So, Nashville Cats season ticket holders, your Sunday, is that Father's Day?
Father's Day week? Yes, Sunday it is.
Your Father's Day may have just come open. So,
yep, I'm looking on ticket.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm looking on Ticketmaster. You can still buy tickets for that, but yeah, buyer beware.
Buyer beware, absolutely, because those are tickets for a game with no opponent as of right now. So, Wade, I know you say that you were kind of in and out this weekend with other things going on, and we probably don't have time to get into this at this point, unfortunately, but the Caitlin Clark file during the Chicago Sky game is something that we need to, and everybody's reaction to it is.
Yeah, that could be its own topic. What I will tell you, Mo, is at the restaurant I was at Saturday, downtown Lexington, Kentucky, every single TV in the restaurant was on the Fever in the Sky. And I just want to say, when I say that, the Fever are 2-9 and the Sky are 3-4. We ain't talking the Sun and the Aces. We're talking the Fever in the Sky, and every single TV in that place had it on Saturday.
Kudos to them. You know, it deserves that. The game deserves that. The league deserves that. And, you know, there's a lot more that we need to touch on and talk about as far as that goes as it relates to, you know, that situation between the Sky and the Fever and with Caitlin Clark and Kennedy Carter. And we'll get into that here as the week progresses. But for now, we should bid you a fond adieu from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back tomorrow, we will be joined, as we typically are on Tuesdays, by Chip Walters, talking all things MTSU. Not sure who our other guest will be, but tune in tomorrow at 2 o'clock to see. We'll see you then.